Hey, today we're going to look at 7 cool ways of comparing data in the IELTS writing exam, guys, which is really going to help you out a lot. How you doing? Anthony Schultz here from Gold Coast IELTS, where I help you absolutely destroy the written section of the IELTS exam. You know, a lot of people have a lot of trouble comparing information and sets of data in the IELTS Task 1 and Task 2 responses, guys. Some of them even forget to compare completely, which is a big no-no. So today I'm going to show you 7 awesome ways to compare data in the IELTS exam. And if you do get value from my videos, guys, hit like and also smash the subscribe button and the notification bell so you do not miss any of my latest videos, guys. Let's get started. Okay, so let's check out comparing things, guys. We're going to look at 7 different ways. The first one is using the easiest one, which is comparatives and superlatives. Then we'll look at using adverbs to compare. After that, emphasis. Then some little words like just, almost, nearly, half, twice, and 3 times. After that, this quite common construction, not as plus adjective plus as. Then we'll look at repeating an adjective to compare, and finally the comparative plus the comparative. Okay, so of course the first one everybody needs to know is how to compare using comparative adjectives, which is basically just an adjective with er on the end of it. So we can use comparatives to compare 2 or more things, places, or people. For example, in 2020, South Koreans live longer than EU citizens. Or we can also compare the same thing at 2 different times. For example, South Koreans live longer in 2020 than they did in 1920. Okay, so next is superlatives, which means the est form of the adjective. We can use superlatives to compare one thing with another in a group. For example, football is probably the most popular sport in the world. We can also modify superlatives with one of the or some of the. For example, Thailand has some of the best fighters in the world. So getting a little more difficult, now we're going to look at adverbs. We can compare how things are done with more or most or less or least plus an adverb. For example, the global population is increasing more rapidly than it was in the 1960s. Global pandemic deaths climbed the most rapidly since 1918. We could also say poverty rates climbed less slowly in China than they did in Papua New Guinea, or teen pregnancies climbed the least slowly in the UK over the period shown. So we can also add emphasis with words like even, far, a great deal, a little, a lot, or much, plus a comparative. We could say, for example, younger people showed much faster recovery rates than people aged over 65. Or police brutality declined even further in the following year. So we can increase the formality level with words like slightly, considerably, significantly, plus a comparative. So for example, numbers were significantly higher in 2015 than they had been in 2013. Or the number of female CEOs is now only slightly lower than the number of male CEOs in Australia. So another cool thing to do is add extra meaning by adding little words like just, almost, nearly, half, twice, and 3 times with the grammatical construction as plus adjective plus as. Here's an example. The new cancer treatment is twice as effective as the one developed last year. Or the new cancer treatment has been developed 3 times as quickly as the one developed in the 80s. So another cool construction is not as plus adjective plus as, which describes 2 things that are different. For example, the younger generation is not as physically active as their parents were. Or, although quite damaging, the current global slowdown is not as bad as the one in 2008. Okay, so number 6 is repeating an adjective to show a change over time by repeating the comparative. For example, The line chart shows that standards of living got better and better in Africa over the given period. Or a successful outcome for the trade war is looking less and less likely for America and China. Or the air in a lot of large countries is getting more and more polluted. So the last comparative structure we'll look at today is that comparative plus that plus comparative. Quite a common one, but not easy to use. Let's take a look. So when two things change at the same time, use that comparative plus that comparative. For example, from the information given in the chart, it would seem that the longer children spend at school, the better their chances are of a good job. So now we've looked at all 7 different ways of comparing. Let's see how to compare in practice in a real IELTS response. So here guys, on the left side of the screen, you can see 2 bar charts which compare chatting on the internet and playing games on consoles for boys and girls and both sexes together. I wrote this little paragraph here, and every single sentence has a comparative structure inside it. I didn't just use the same structures over and over. I tried to use a good range of structures, so let's see how it sounds. The initial impression from the chart is that girls chat on the internet more than boys do, although they play considerably less games than boys do. Nearly 85% of boys play games, which is more than 1.5 times the number of girls. Boys are obviously not as active as girls are on social media, but about the same number of boys as girls spend an hour a day chatting online. Overall, boys and girls spend nearly the same amount of time chatting online, about 62%, as they do playing games, about 68%. So you can see guys from that final example paragraph there, it's no problem to put a comparative structure into even every sentence in your task 1. Try to also use some of those structures in your task 2, and you're sure to get a much better result for your grammar and task achievement scores. And guys, if you did like the video, please hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.